Equalities and inequalities today. And so we kind of did this during that pre-calc foundations quiz piece. We looked at this. I just want to make sure we're still solid on this piece, and we'll look at it. Anytime we're dealing with absolute values, you want to try to isolate the absolute value and then split it into those two equations. So we'll end up adding 14 to both sides here. Oh, my computer's got a ton of lag right now. We've got too much going on. So our 3 times the absolute value of n minus 5 will equal 9. Divide by 3 so that this is completely isolated. And we'll end up with this n minus 5 absolute value is going to be equal to 4. Now you can split it into the two equations. The first one, okay? Some of you may have been taught a slightly different route. I'm going to show you this one because I think you're less likely to forget a symbol. First one, keep exactly the same. You just drop the absolute values. Second one, keep the same inside. Okay? Flip the relationship. So when you flip an equal sign, it still looks like an equal sign. So it's not super important right now, but it will be for inequalities. And then make the other side negative. So for the most part, typically what you have to do is make one term negative instead of both terms on the other side. Okay? So if you were taught the other way, that's fine. I would encourage you to take this route just because you're less likely to forget a negative. Then you can solve both equations. So in this case, n is going to be equal to 9, or n is going to be equal to 1. Okay? And those are all our two solutions in this case. Okay? If you were graphing that, which I'm not, does it actually ask you to graph those ones? No. So if you were graphing those, you'd put them on a number line, and because they're coordinate points, it's literally just a point. You just plot that one point. So it'd just be a circle at 1, a circle at 9, filled in. Next piece we're going to take a look at is inequalities. Okay, so if we're looking at something like 28, same setup. You want to isolate the absolute value. So we'll have 5 times the q minus 2. Add the 7 to both sides. So this will be less than or equal to 15. Divide by our 5. So q minus 2 in absolute value is going to be less than or equal to 3. Okay, now when we split these two equations, similarly, make the exact same, just drop the absolute values. And then the second one, same inside. Flip the relationship and make it negative. Okay, so with inequalities, this is important because we're going to go from a less than to a greater than. Okay, then solve each side. So q is going to be less than or equal to 5, or q is going to be greater than or equal to negative 1. Okay. So in this case, you got 2 points. It's inequalities. Typically, you're going to have it where it's pointing at each other, and it's in the and situation where they'll get stuck between the points, or they'll be at the 2 points pointed away from each other. Another kind of cheesy way to remember from the beginning is if you have a less than symbol at the very beginning, it's less and. Okay, so it's going to be an and situation. You'll be stuck between the 2 points. Okay. If it's a greater than, it's a great or. It'll be an or situation. It'll be pointed away from each other. So in this case, if we happen to have to graph this, okay, we'll have our 2 circles at negative 1 and at 5. Okay, and then they're going to be less than 5, greater than negative 1. It's an and situation, so we're stuck in between. Okay? So if you had to graph it, that's what's going to happen with it. Last piece you're going to take a look at tonight is ones with decimals. Yay! Decimals make everything harder, right? No, good. Makes them easier. You guys like fractions, right? Fractions is where it's at. Okay. So in this case, you end up with let's do 51. So I don't think you actually end up doing 51. I think the way that every other odd works out, 49 is the last one you do. So we'll do 51 as a group. Here, same situation. You're just going to subtract that 8.7 from both sides. Okay, and so we'll end up with negative 31.2. Then we'll divide that to 3.9. Okay, so our absolute value is going to be less than or equal to a negative 8. What numbers are going to be less than or equal to a negative number? If I plug in something in here, what's it going to come out as? Anything inside of an absolute value is going to come out positive. Is there any number I could possibly put in here that's going to come out that will be less than a negative? No, there's no possible way of making that happen. Okay? So there's no solution in this situation. Okay? What if it happened to be a greater than situation? So I wanted to be greater than a negative number. What numbers could I put in? Anything. Okay, so all real numbers could be a solution if it was a greater than. These will be those special situations where you'll either have infinite solutions, all real numbers, or you'll have no solutions.